welcome back to Design Bundle's YouTube channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Crystal, and today I'm going to share with you guys a few tips when it comes to cleaning your Cricut mats. So you don't have to toss these out when they get yucky and gunky. You can definitely clean them. There's a few things that you can use right here inside of your craft room without even having to go to the kitchen. So what I'm going to show you today is we have baby wipes. It doesn't matter the brand or anything like that. You can definitely use baby wipes. You can also use Clorox wipes and Lysol wipes as well. A couple other things that you can use is water and Dawn dish soap, so you can definitely do those. I just brought a cake pan in here, and you can kind of rinse those right here inside of the craft room, and then rinse them. You're going to let them dry. Sometimes I even use a hair dryer to kind of speed that up on a low setting, but if you let them sit and dry, you'll start to feel that stick come back. Another one is awesome spray that you can get from the Dollar Tree. This is very huge. You can definitely use this as well in the sink, but this is another thing you can kind of soak it here and rinse it right here in one of these pans in your craft room. But I would highly recommend to do something like that in the kitchen. I will say when it comes to the awesome spray, it is a little bit more harsh, so you want to be careful with your fingers. But one that we're going to try today is Windex. This is Windex with vinegar. So I'm going to try this one today using water. So I've just got myself a water bottle, and then we're going to use this little cake pan right here. So you know how you can get those tin pans that you can throw away? You could always keep a tin pan in your craft space to clean those as well, and then just dump it in the sink once you're done. So let's go ahead and go over a few of these methods here today. I've got a few mats that are dirty here. These are not as dirty as I've had them in the past, but they do got some little debris and things like that. As you guys can see, we've got fuzz. And whenever they start to get this buildup, they start to lose some of their stick. So it's nice to be able to get that stick to come back. So cleaning these is also going to help that as well. So we have two blue ones here that I'm going to try out today. You can do this on all of your mats, okay? So the reason why I want to show you all of your mats today is the point you have less stick on the pink and the blue, so you have a risk of taking that stick off those two. So you really want to be super gentle when it comes to those two, and you can be more rough a little bit, if you would say, with your purple and your green. So with those, you can use things like a scraper tool along with these cleaning methods to really help get off that gunk. But when you do it with the pink and the blue, you do run the risk of removing that adhesive. But on here, I've got a few pieces of wood, and like I said, these are not as dirty as I've had them, but I had recently cleaned them, and I really wish I'd have held on to them. But I've got a few pieces of felt and things like that on the pink one, and then my green one's pretty gross. So I've got some, just looks like stains really with dirt and stuff like that. Tons of stuff, hair, everything you can think of. These things pick up your pet's hair, and you know all of the stuff. So I've already pulled the covers off of these, and we're going to go ahead and test a few out to show you how you're going to do it. So let's go ahead and start off with the baby wipes. Like I said, it does not matter the brand. You just want some baby wipes. All right. So what you're going to simply do is just kind of get it like this, and you're just going to work from one corner all the way to the next. So just very gently. I'm not rubbing super hard because you don't want to remove that adhesive, and I'm just going to work my way down as I go through my mat here. So I'm just going to slowly work all of that debris to one side, and when you get it to one side as it's wet, you can gently, without any pressure, I can start to, rub that stuff around to kind of get it to remove. So like I said, with a baby wipe, you're just going to simply go all the way across this like so. And I'll bring it up so you guys can see what it's looking like so far with that baby wipe. So you can see these squares right here are starting to be clean compared to all of this stuff here. Now, as you guys can see here, there is no stick. It seems like we have ruined our mat where we have our stick here. That is not true. It is wet. As soon as it dries down, it's going to be more sticky than this because you're going to have that stick back. Also, like I said, hair dryer on low settings. You can speed that up if you need them pretty quickly. If not, lay them across your counter. You could always get little things to hang them up and air dry them. But like I said, at first it's going to feel like you've lost your stick, and you have not. So don't give a ton of pressure. You just want real nice, easy motions of scooting that. But I would highly recommend going from one side to the next. So that way you're not continuing to just kind of wipe that around. But if you need to, with the blue and the pink, you want to be real gentle with your scraper tool. For the next one, let's go ahead and try the Clorox wipe. Once again, Clorox, Lysol. You could use off-brand if you want to. You're just going to go ahead and take that wipe and you're going to do the same thing. Now, whenever it comes to these wipes, sometimes there's a texture on one side. I'm definitely going to utilize that texture here, doing the same thing and working my way from one side to the next. I will tell you guys that when it comes to the Lysol, it is going to work a little bit quicker for you compared to the wipey. Now the wipies as well, they kind of have a different, they're made of like a thicker cotton, if you will. So sometimes it wants to kind of tear up your wipey, where these are more durable. So it may take me 2 or 3, 4 wipes with the baby wipes, but may only take me 1 whenever it comes to the Clorox and the Lysol wipes. So as you guys can see, I'll kind of bring that up. Hopefully you guys can see it's picking up those debris. And as you guys can see here, we're starting to clear off, and it didn't take hardly anything. I'm not really pushing hard. I'm just simply wiping everything. As you guys can see, you see that move pretty quick. So with the Lysol Clorox wipes versus the baby wipes, I highly recommend this over the baby wipes. So definitely keep these in your stash for a quick cleanup. Once again, you're just going to set this aside, let it air dry, or use a hair dryer. But you guys can already see how that's working. Once again, it seems like I've tore up that sticky and it's no longer working where it works down here. Once it dries, I'll show you guys that when we come back at the very end. So let's go ahead and set this aside and try the next one. For the next one, we're going to use the Windex with the vinegar here. So we're going to go ahead and spray this and kind of let it sit a little bit. So as you guys can see, I've got a pan down here. Once again, you can get those ones that are disposable, the aluminum type ones. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure this is on, and I'm just going to gently spray this. This is also good for granite countertops, and that's why I have this. This was recommended to us by our granite people because it's not harsh on your granite. So if you may already have some of this on hand with the vinegar, so I thought, you know, if it's easy on that, I bet it would be easy on our mat. So I'm just kind of making sure everything is sprayed at this point. And then I can go ahead and take my scraper tool. I'm just going to move everything around. I could also use a paintbrush. I'm just making sure everything is coated at this point. If you have some gloves on, you can definitely just use your hands to rub those around. So what I'm going to do, and I'm actually going to spray this corner over here just to make sure it's got it on there. I'm just going to let this kind of set here so you guys can see I'm not making a mess. I'm right here in the craft space. I'm going to let this kind of just set for a few minutes. And then there's a few things that we can do. We can either at this point, once we're done with it, we can come back with a baby wipe, which I'm going to try first. We can come back in with that scraper tool. But what we want to do there at the end is we're going to rinse it with some water. Now, what I would also recommend, I've got a water bottle here, and I was going to kind of do something like this. You could take a spray bottle. So if you just take an old bottle like this, or just a brand new spray bottle from the Dollar Tree, we could put some water in there as well to have a 2-step process. So once this is kind of set here for a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and move that out of our way. And I'm going to go ahead and start to take my scraper tool here and start to scrape up any of that debris. So I'm just kind of moving this around. You guys probably can't tell, but this is moving around on here like water. So I've got a little pile going on here. And like I said, I'm on a granite countertop and this is safe for this, so I don't have to really worry about anything. Now, whenever I'm using my scraper tool, I'm not pushing hard because that will remove your adhesive. I'm just right on top. I'm basically just floating right on top of that adhesive. All right. So I'm going to kind of show you guys here. It's kind of gross, but show you guys that. See when I'm moving around, I'm kind of starting to pick up that debris and stuff. Now I'm going to go ahead. Let's try first taking our baby wipe here and starting to now clean this up. All right, so I think the baby wipe would be pretty good, and you really don't have to come back in with the water. But if we did want to come back in with the water, and you guys can see that there, we've cleaned up. Look at this. So this right here has not been rinsed or wiped, but this area has. So simply spraying this enough to where there's enough to let it soak. You can let it sit for 10 minutes. I let it sit for maybe 1 or 2 minutes. Let it sit for a good 10-15 minutes. Come back, use your scraper tool to kind of go around, and then simply take a baby wipe. And I think we could simply use one baby wipe at this point to just wipe all that off. Once this dries, it's going to be ready to go. But if you wanted to as well, which then you're going to have a little bit of a mess in the craft room, is we could take our water bottle here, which I would highly recommend doing a spray bottle. But this is what I had at the moment. And then I would just kind of angle it in my pan, and then I can kind of, you know, slosh some water up there as well. And then just kind of rub that around to get all of that Windex off. So I'm just kind of got this like so. And then I can just use my fingers to rub all of that off. And as you guys can see there, hopefully it's just wiping it right off. So I would recommend one or both of those whenever it comes to the Windex. But like I said, I've been using the Awesome Spray and I've been recommending it for years, but I do think it's a little bit harsh on your hands. So if you are going to use that from the Dollar Tree, I would definitely use some gloves, where this right here is not harsh whatsoever. So I would highly recommend grab you guys some of this. It is on Amazon. That's where I got mine from. I couldn't find it in the store. You might be able to. And then I'll have it linked down below on Amazon. It's going to last you a long time. So this is just another way that you could definitely do that. And so here in my pan, I could use this like a wash rag and just kind of wash this. All right, to wrap this up, I'm just going to go over it with one last baby wipe just because I use the water. If I was just using the baby wipe, I wouldn't need to do this. But I'm going to go over it with one last baby wipe to wipe this off. If you were just using the water as well, you could just set it aside and let it dry, kind of really push that water off. But I think this is going to help it out even further. So now you guys can take a look at the green mat and look how good this looks. This was pretty gunky, had the hair all over it, and now it looks brand new. And I'm telling you guys, this stuff is not harsh at all. It's with the vinegar. So far, I'm really recommending this stuff. This is 100% ocean-bound plastic, as you guys can see. Lots of good things coming from this one. And I think it's going to be great for being able to do this right in the craft room and not make a major mess. If you guys are doing this on other countertops as well, you can always put down a Teflon sheet or some parchment paper first to be able to work on that surface as well. And honestly, I didn't really get anything on my countertops. So this really was pretty easy to utilize right here in the craft room. Yes, you can also do this in the kitchen if you wanted to. Let it soak for a good 10-15 minutes. And really, like I said, I didn't even do 10-15 minutes. I did 1 to 2 minutes of letting that sit and used a baby wipe to clean after the fact. So I think that worked out really great. You guys let me know down below if you guys have tried any of these methods to clean your mats. Today, I have not seen anybody else do this. This is definitely just me trial and error today, and it worked out great. So let's pop back here in just a second and see how these dried. All right, so let's go ahead and check out the tack on these now. This has been about 2 minutes since I've washed this one, and this one dried so fast. So much faster compared to these two here. So I would say the Windex paired with the Finaling with the baby wipe was perfect. And this is so easy to use right there in the craft room, like I said, or even in the kitchen. I would say both ways with this, as you guys could see. This worked very, very well. I would definitely recommend this one out of all of them. But you guys can see how fast that dried, and that tack is back 100%. This mat looks brand new. So as you guys can see, all of that stuff is gone, and y'all seen how fast that was to clean, and it dried so fast. So that's really good. When it comes to the pink one here, this is the one that we did with that Lysol. So you guys can see the dirty part compared to that clean part. And that clean part is great, and that stick is back 100%. You guys can see that as well. So that's just like brand new from day one. This is the Clorox wipe, which would be Clorox or Lysol. And that worked out great as well. Here is the blue one that we did with just the baby wipe, and you can see it's got that blue matte tack back because this is a light sticky mat, but you guys can see that there. So you guys can see the clean area, and then you guys can see some of that fuzzy, hopefully, but that stick is back 100%. So I think all of those worked out great, but I will say the Windex paired with the baby wipe is my absolute favorite. You guys let me know down below, have you guys tried any of these, and which one do you think is going to be your favorite? I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please hit the like button down below and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.